He owns the company. The money's in his name, but they still asked him to leave until they found out who he really was. "Excuse me, sir. This area is for clients only." That's the first thing Darius Langston hears as he steps into the branch lobby of Hanover Pacific Bank in downtown Bakersfield, California. It's 10:04 a.m. on a Thursday. The floor's been mopped. The lights overhead hum with the usual flicker. A scent of strong coffee and lemon floor polish hangs in the air. Business as usual. But something feels off. Not for him. He's focused, calm, purposeful. He's here for a scheduled meeting with a regional executive about expanding credit lines for a new data center project in Fresno. He should be greeted with a handshake, maybe even offered coffee. Instead, he's met with suspicion. Darius turns slowly toward the voice. A middle-aged white man in a slim-fit suit is standing behind the welcome podium. The man's eyes skim over Darius like he's a delivery guy who wandered in through the wrong door. No smile, no good morning, just tight lips and a pair of crossed arms. "I am a client," Darius replies, voice level. "I have a meeting with Mr. Callahan at 10. There's a beat of silence. The man doesn't flinch, doesn't move, doesn't even check the system. "Are you sure you're at the right bank?" he asks. Hanover Pacific doesn't offer walk-in business consultations. Darius raises an eyebrow. He keeps his cool, always has. It's what's helped him scale Langston Dynamics into one of the fastest-growing black-owned tech firms in California. But it never ceases to amaze him how often he still has to prove who he is. "I'm not here for a walk-in," he replies. "I was invited. I'm Darius Langston." He reaches into his coat pocket to pull up the confirmation email on his phone. But the man isn't interested. He waves a hand, like brushing off a fly. "Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to step outside if you don't have an appointment." Darius takes a breath, slow, controlled. "I just told you I do have one." The man doesn't budge. He's already glancing toward the security guard, who's just inside the door. Darius looks past him, around the branch. Tidy layout. 2 tellers behind plexiglass. One young woman at a desk typing something. Another banker walking a client back from a meeting room. All very normal. Except no one seems to notice or care that a man in a suit holding his phone out, saying he has an appointment, is being dismissed at the front door. Just like that. He glances down at his suit. Navy blue, tailored, crisp white shirt, brown leather shoes, polished that morning. He knows how he looks, knows how he carries himself. But somehow, in this place, in this moment, it doesn't matter. Because it's not about how he looks. It's about what they see when they look at him. He's not surprised. But he's tired. Tired of being doubted. Tired of proving he belongs in rooms he built with his own 2 hands. And today, he's not going to let it slide. But before he can say another word, something unexpected happens just a few feet away. It's the young woman near the front desk who reacts first. Her name tag reads Elena Rivera. She's been with Hanover Pacific for 8 months, fresh out of Cal State Bakersfield. Quiet, observant, still learning the ropes. But she knows exactly who just walked in. She stands up, cautiously, laptop still open on her desk. "Mr. Langston?" she says, her voice just loud enough to cross the lobby. Darius turns to her, giving a small nod. "Yes." Elena walks over, brushing her long dark hair behind one ear. Her eyes quickly shift between Darius and the branch manager, sensing the tension. "You're here to meet with Mr. Callahan, right? I saw your name on the schedule this morning." The manager, Richard Gaines, visibly stiffens. "Elena," he says, tone sharp, "please return to your workstation. I'll handle this." Elena hesitates. "But he does have a meeting. I saw it. 10 o'clock, conference room B." Richard turns red in the cheeks. He's been branch manager here for 6 years, runs a tight ship. He doesn't like being corrected, especially not in front of clients, especially not by someone still on probation. "I said I'll handle it," he repeats through clenched teeth. But the damage is done. Darius gently slides his phone back into his pocket. He no longer needs to show the email. "I appreciate you speaking up," he tells Elena, calm but firm. "It's good to know someone here is paying attention." Richard steps forward now, trying to take back control. "Mr. Langston, is it?" he says, attempting a recovery. "My apologies. It's been a hectic morning, and we've had incidents before with individuals trying to what?" Darius cuts in. His tone isn't loud, but it slices clean through the air. Walk into a bank lobby in a suit and say they have a meeting? Richard flinches. Elena shifts uncomfortably. The security guard by the door, who had started to step forward, slowly eases back. He's realizing now that this isn't what he thought it was. I shouldn't have to explain myself, Darius continues. But for your records, my company holds over $12 million across 5 accounts with this bank. We've financed real estate, built tech infrastructure, hired over 200 employees in this state alone. And I'm standing here being asked to leave because you made a snap judgment. The room goes quiet. Even the tellers look up. Richard swallows, hard. Again, I apologize. I didn't realize. You weren't listed in our local client files. Sometimes we get walk-ins from the shelter 2 blocks over and... He stops. That sentence was worse than the first one. Darius raises his eyebrows. And what does that have to do with me? Richard knows he's cornered. His face flushes darker, but he tries to push through. We try to ensure the safety of our staff and clients. It's protocol to verify visitors. You didn't try to verify anything, Darius replies. You didn't ask my name. You didn't check the schedule. You just assumed. Another pause. Elena clears her throat. Mr. Callahan should be here any minute. He usually comes down early for executive meetings. Darius nods, never taking his eyes off Richard. Good. Let's wait for him. The lobby feels 10 degrees hotter. Richard steps back behind the counter, suddenly unsure what to do with his hands. His authority has slipped. People are staring. A woman with 2 kids waiting near the loan office watches with wide eyes. A man in line whispers something to the person behind him. Whatever control Richard had just melted away in front of a growing audience. He knows it too. But Darius doesn't gloat, doesn't raise his voice. He's had practice with this kind of silence. It speaks louder than shouting ever could. He walks over to the waiting area and takes a seat, straight back, chin up. Not angry, just present, unshakable. But outside the front glass door, a black Audi pulls into the VIP parking space, and the real moment of truth is only seconds away. The automatic doors whoosh open as Gerald Callahan steps inside, trim suit, silver hair, navy tie, regional vice president for Hanover Pacific Bank. Everyone in the building knows who he is, even Richard Gaines. Gerald's eyes scan the room quickly, like he's used to walking into situations already in motion. He spots Darius, seated calmly near the lobby chairs, then sees Richard behind the counter looking like he just swallowed a handful of tacks. Darius, Gerald says with a warm smile, extending a hand as he walks across the tile. Apologies, I ran into traffic on 99. Darius stands. They shake hands. No worries, Darius replies, glancing briefly toward Richard, who's now shifting papers on the desk like he's doing something useful. I've had, time to get to know your staff. Gerald catches the tone, subtle, controlled, but there's something underneath it. He looks over at Richard, who still hasn't spoken. What happened? Gerald asks. Darius doesn't answer right away. He looks over at Elena, still seated at her desk. She's staring down at her keyboard like it might save her job if she types fast enough. Richard clears his throat and steps forward. There was some confusion. I didn't realize Mr. Langston had an appointment. He arrived without checking in, and Richard, Gerald interrupts, not unkindly, but directly. Did you ask his name? Richard pauses. No, not immediately. Gerald tilts his head. Did you check the schedule before asking him to leave? Another pause. This one feels like a freefall. I was going to. Richard lies. Elena speaks up, quietly but clearly. I told him. I saw Mr. Langston on the calendar. He didn't want to listen. Now the attention shifts. Elena never intended to speak again, but the weight of the silence pushed it out of her. Her voice is steady, even if her hands are trembling under the desk. Richard glares at her, but she doesn't look away. Gerald breathes through his nose, then turns to Darius. I'm sorry. I know this isn't the first impression you deserve. Darius nods once. No, it's not. And it's not the first time I've dealt with something like this either. Gerald looks down for a beat. His jaw tightens, just a little. I need to ask, do you still want to proceed with the meeting today? Darius pauses, eyes steady. Yes, but I'd prefer we not meet in a place where people assume I don't belong. Gerald gives a slow nod. Understood. We'll reschedule off-site. Then turning toward Richard, "My office, now." Richard opens his mouth like he's going to protest, but Gerald has already started walking toward the back. He follows, stiff and quiet. The lobby buzzes with low whispers. A few customers shuffle uncomfortably. Elena keeps her eyes locked on her screen, even though her heart is pounding so loud she can barely hear anything else. Darius walks over to her desk. "Thank you," he says softly. She looks up, blinking. "I just did what I thought was right." He gives a small smile. That's the part too many people skip. He hands her a business card. "If you ever decide this place isn't it, give me a call. We're hiring." Elena stares at the card, Langston Dynamics. Her breath catches. "Seriously?" Darius gives a slow nod. "Seriously." She swallows hard. "Thank you, Mr. Langston." He nods again, then walks toward the exit. The automatic doors open. Sunlight floods in, but just before he steps outside, a loud voice echoes from the hallway in the back, Gerald's voice, and what he says next brings the whole bank to a standstill. "You're done here, Richard. Clean out your desk." It's loud, clear, no guessing what was said. Everyone in the lobby hears it. One of the tellers gasps. A man near the loan officer's desk mutters, "Damn!" No one moves. No one blinks. Darius stops just before the doors close behind him. He turns. A few seconds later, Richard reappears, red-faced and tight-lipped, clutching a brown banker's box. A phone charger coils over the edge, along with a framed photo of 2 kids and what looks like a mug that says "Number 1 Boss." The irony doesn't go unnoticed. Elena's jaw drops. She wasn't expecting that. Richard walks stiffly across the lobby. Every eye is on him, but he doesn't look up, doesn't speak, just heads straight for the door. As he passes Darius, their eyes lock. Richard hesitates, like he wants to say something. But what could he say? Sorry? It wouldn't mean much now, not when it only comes after consequences. Darius doesn't speak either. He just watches him walk out, the box wobbling in his arms. Behind him, Gerald appears again. His face is unreadable. He walks up to Darius and gestures toward a side hallway. "Can I speak with you a moment? Outside of all this?" They step into a small private room off the main lobby. No cameras, no audience. Gerald leans against the table, folding his arms. Not defensively, just considering his words. "I had no idea that kind of attitude was still living in this branch," he says quietly. "I'm embarrassed. Personally, professionally." Darius sits calmly. "You should be." Gerald nods once. "This isn't just about today. This is going to become something bigger. HR's already on the phone. Legal will want statements. There's protocol." Darius waits. "I don't need you to make a statement publicly," Gerald continues, "but if you feel you want to share your side internally, we'll take it seriously. Whatever happened here today, it ends here." Darius taps a finger on the table, thinking. "I've spent 2 decades fighting for a seat at the table. When I finally got it, I realized the room was still built to make people like me feel like guests. Today, I walked into a bank that manages my money and got treated like I didn't even belong on the property. That's not a bad apple problem, that's culture." Gerald closes his eyes for a beat. "You're right," he says. Darius stands, adjusting his sleeves. "I'm not interested in dragging this out for headlines. I'm not looking for applause. But I'll tell you this. If Elena hadn't spoken up, I might have walked out and closed every account we had with this bank, quietly, permanently." Gerald exhales through his nose. "That would have cost us a lot more than money." "I know." He walks toward the door. Gerald follows him out. Back in the lobby, Elena glances up again as they return. Darius gives her one final nod, then he heads for the door. This time, nobody stops him. Nobody questions him. The sunlight hits differently now. He steps outside, calm, in control, not because he got revenge, but because he stayed himself. And someone finally had to face the weight of their own assumptions. But as he walks down the steps to his car, his phone buzzes, and what he reads next shifts everything all over again. Darius unlocks his car, a black Tesla Model S, parked in the first row of VIP spaces, and slides into the driver's seat. The AC kicks on. He exhales, the cool air washing over him like a reset. Then he checks his phone. One new message from Julia Kim. Subject, incident at Hanover Pacific Time, 10:47 a.m. Julia is Langston Dynamics' head of communications. Smart, sharp, always 5 steps ahead. The email reads, "Just got a call from someone at Hanover. Sounded like PR. Words moving fast. They're trying to do damage control before this leaks. I know you don't want a media circus, but we should talk strategy. Let me know how you want to play this." Darius stares at the screen. For a moment, all the emotion from earlier starts creeping in again. The heat, the insult, the silent stares, the part where no one else said a word until it was too late. He puts the phone face down on the console. Not yet. Let them squirm for a little while. He drives off, slow and steady, easing back into traffic like any other day. But something in him feels heavier. Not bitter, just exhausted. Across town, in a quiet office on the 6th floor of Hanover Pacific's Central Division headquarters, Gerald Callahan is pacing. He's already called legal, HR, the chief diversity officer, the local PR contact. There's only one conversation left. He taps into a Zoom meeting and stares into the screen. The woman on the other side wears a tailored green blazer and thick-framed glasses. Amira Stanton, SVP of Corporate Affairs. She doesn't look surprised when Gerald gives her the rundown. "Let me guess," she says flatly. "White male manager, black client, poor assumption, public consequences." Gerald rubs his temples. It was worse than that. Darius Langston. He's been with the bank for years. He walked into the lobby in a tailored suit and was told to try the community bank down the street. Amira raises her eyebrows. "He owns a company that literally funded a quarter of our West Coast portfolio growth last year." "I know." She leans back in her chair. "We're going to need a full apology and not some canned internal memo. This needs to come from the top." Gerald nods, already drafting it. "What about the girl, the one who spoke up?" "Elena Rivera, entry-level banker. She's the only reason Darius didn't walk out without saying a word." Amira types something quickly. "Give her a retention bonus and bump her review, quietly." Gerald blinks. Done. Meanwhile, back at Langston Dynamics HQ, Julia Kim is already meeting with the legal team. "No, we are not suing," she says, waving a hand. "But if they want this to go away quietly, we'll need a few things. A real diversity audit, a training program with our consultants, and a seat at the next executive partner conference. Darius is done being tolerated. He needs to be respected." No one argues. Darius, however, is sitting at a cafe near the tech park. He's got his laptop open, but he's not typing. He's staring at a group of college kids laughing at a nearby table. He remembers when he used to laugh like that, before he had to think about how he entered a room, how he stood in a line, how he spoke when someone questioned his right to exist in a space. His phone rings again. This time it's a number he doesn't recognize. He lets it go to voicemail. It buzzes again. Then another one. Then a text. "Hi, Mr. Langston. I'm a reporter with KBAC News in Bakersfield. We've heard about what happened at Hanover Pacific this morning and would like a comment. Call me back when you can." Darius sighs. He finishes his espresso, closes the laptop, looks out the window. He hasn't said a word publicly yet. Not a single tweet. Not a LinkedIn post. But the world is already talking. And that's when he realizes he doesn't need to yell. All he had to do was stand still long enough for the truth to be seen. Later that evening, Darius sits alone on the back patio of his home in West Bakersfield. The sun is dipping low, painting the sky in streaks of orange and deep violet. He's got a hoodie on now, laptop closed, glass of water in hand. No camera crews, no press statement, no noise, just quiet. He's been here before, mentally, emotionally. Different setting, same weight. He thinks about his grandfather, a man who never made it past the 8th grade, but taught Darius how to tie a tie and walk into a room like he owned it, even when he didn't. "Your presence," his grandfather used to say, "is your loudest message. Make sure it speaks truth." And today, it did. He didn't scream. He didn't curse. He didn't slam doors or throw papers or threaten lawsuits. He just stood still and let their behavior tell the story. And that was more than enough. The truth was never loud. It didn't have to be. Earlier in the day, Julia had sent him a draft of a possible statement, something he could post online to control the narrative. But Darius didn't open it. Not yet. He wasn't looking for followers. He wasn't looking to go viral. He wasn't interested in being a trending moment on someone else's timeline. He was thinking about Elena Rivera, a young woman who probably risked her job just by telling the truth out loud. He thought about the people in the lobby, the ones who said nothing, the ones who watched and whispered and lowered their eyes. He thought about Richard Gaines, a man who'd probably never been told no in front of his peers, who thought titles came with immunity, who made a mistake that had been brewing for years, just waiting for the right moment to surface. He wasn't angry anymore. He was clear. The next morning, he typed something simple into his phone. He posted it on his personal account. Sometimes the lesson isn't about proving who you are. Sometimes the lesson is about showing people who they've always been. He hit send. That was it. No hashtags, no names, just truth. Later that week, Hanover Pacific released a formal apology. They used all the corporate words, unfortunate incident, not reflective of our values, reaffirming our commitment, but the only sentence that mattered came near the end. We will be meeting with Mr. Langston to learn directly from his experience and to ensure this never happens again, not just in this branch, but anywhere in our organization. Behind closed doors, Darius made it clear. Words weren't enough. He wanted numbers, policies, faces in the room that didn't all look the same, and consequences that didn't get swept under the rug once the headlines died down. He didn't ask for power. He used the power he already had to open a door a little wider for the next person behind him. That's the thing most people miss. Real change doesn't start with noise. It starts with presence, with people willing to sit in discomfort until the room finally notices. Darius didn't walk into that bank asking for a fight. He walked in expecting respect. What he got instead was a reminder that success doesn't erase perception, but it can challenge it. And when someone finally sees you for who you really are, they don't just remember your face, they remember the silence that made them see themselves. If you've ever been in a space where you were treated like a stranger to your own worth, know this, you don't have to shout to be heard. Sometimes, standing still and speaking plainly is what shakes the ground. Now ask yourself, if you saw it happening to someone else, would you say something or would you look away? Because silence is just another way of saying, I'm okay with this. Don't be okay with it. Speak up. Stand firm. And when it's your turn at the table, build a better room.